Hey there, welcome to CNT Collectibles IMC. Hope you're doing well. Today we're going to take a look at some modern first basemen that are on the path to baseball eternal relevance. And so if you're like me, the flipping thing is all fun and games, but if I'm going to put serious money into cards, or what I consider serious money, everybody has their own levels or anything like that, I want to do a little bit of homework and make sure that these players are going to have some longevity, because I'm not interested in buying and selling every other day here. So we'll take a look at some of the modern players that might be on the Hall of Fame track. We'll see what their prices are doing and see if there's any value. But at least let's learn a little bit about the Hall of Fame and the first base position and have some fun with that. So the Hall of Fame stats for the first base is as follows here. I'm not going to start this thing over. I misspeak all the time. You guys should be used to that by now here. So for the Hall of Fame, there's 24 first basemen in the Hall of Fame. The average Fangraphs WAR is 69.78, and so that is skewed by some players at the top. You've got Jimmy Fox and Lou Gehrig and Cap Anson. They put up some pretty large numbers that are not terribly repeatable these days here. So grain of salt on this one. The highest WAR is 116. Lou Gehrig, class of 39. The most hits belongs to Cap Anson, 34-35. Also class of 39. Most home runs, 612. Jim Thome, the class of 2018. So the old days they hit a lot, and now they just hit them farther. So 3,000 hit club, Cap Anson and Eddie Murray. 500 home run club. Now we're starting to get into some of the big dogs here. Catchers didn't have anybody. First baseman, they've got a few here. Thome, Killebrew, Jimmy Fox, Frank Thomas, Willie McCovey, and Eddie Murray. So we got some thumpers in there. So we should take a look at a few players that maybe they should get a little more considerate. Oh wait, nope, not that one. All right, some players that maybe should get a little more consideration. So seriously, the steroid era may have created a few openings for some players here, so we'll see how this goes. Keith Hernandez had 59.4 WAR over his career, 131 weighted runs created, so he's an elite level hitter at least with a 296 average. 2,100 hits, which is light for the Hall of Fame. Did have an MVP, he's a 5-time All-Star, 11 Gold Gloves, a 2-time Silver Slugger, and a batting title. He didn't have a lot of home runs, and if you're going to play at the corners, first or third base, you should probably have some thump in your bat here. He did not. His highest vote total before his 10 years were up in Hall of Fame voting was 10.8%. So as much as we may think they may deserve more consideration, he has been considered, and the Hall of Fame committee did not feel he was worthy at the time. So we'll see how that goes down the road here. The Crime Dog, 56.9. Wins above replacement, 134 weighted runs created, so on average. So again, an elite level bat, 493 home runs. If he could have hung around a little bit longer and hit that 500 mark, then that punches his ticket. So 5-time All-Star, 3-time Silver Slugger, and his last year on the ballot, which was in 2019, he had nearly 40% of the vote, and that was his highest total. So he can get back into the after a period of time, he can get back in on the Veterans Committee here, but this is a guy that I think will get some more consideration down the road. I'm not sure that he has done quite yet here. So some players that are pretty young, they're not going to be on this list today. I want to see a little bit more of a track record develop, with exceptions from spoiler alert. But looking at guys like Andrew Vaughn and Yordan Alvarez, Yordan looks like a terrific hitter, but what I'm seeing a lot is some of these guys coming up at age 23, 24, and when you're looking at the Hall of Fame list and when a lot of those guys came up, it was really 21, 22, and they started producing right away. So I'm wondering if we're going to see kind of a paradigm shift where coming up at age 24 and getting 55 or 60 wins opposed to 70 or 80 is going to be enough, because someone's got to get it eventually. So anyways, for today's purposes, we need to see a little bit more out of these guys or a lot more out of these guys before we put them on the list. So let's get into it here, and we'll start off with Mr. Todd Helton, who is currently on the ballot. He is a 5-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glove, 4-time Silver Slugger, 54.9 WAR, 316 lifetime average. Dude could hit. Colorado be darned. 369 home runs and a 132 weighted runs created. So he's an elite bat. He had a batting title, and over the last 3 years, his first 3 years on the ballot, he's garnered 16% of the vote, then 29%, and recently 44% of the vote. So he's climbing up quickly. And so if there's ever a year where there's not first baseman or not a lot of guys on the ballot, he could maybe sneak up to that 70-75%. And so his long-term track, again, later start, which is kind of a theme here, but he tracked really well with the average Hall of Famer, right? Tailed off towards the end here, flattened out, but he did get really close to that commensurate WAR. So we'll see how this plays out. Kind of on the fence here, but a lot of people like him, and so we'll see if that's enough to fan favorite to push him over the top. So all right, Paul Goldschmidt, fan favorite. So we'll go over some guys that are bigger names, and if they're not on the list, then you think, all right, geez, Goldie, what are you doing? He's not a Hall of Famer. Think about the people that aren't on the list, and they're even worse off. So put it into context. So Paul Goldschmidt, 46.3 wins. The average WAR at age 33 for Hall of Famers, 57. So he's off the path by about 2 years, and you can see, later start kind of did that right there. And so he's tracked well. You had a shortened season and a couple of off years here, so he's off the pace. But a 293 average, 280 home runs, 1,500 hits, 141 weighted runs created. He is an elite level bat. We know he can play. We know he can hit. So the question for him, over the next 3 or 4 years, can he be a 4 or 5 win player? So this year he had a really nice finish to the season to put him at 5 wins to really kind of help things out. And so over the next couple of years, can he continue to put together competent seasons, or can he just compile until age 38 or 39? Those are kind of the options here. So see if he can do something with the home runs as well. Probably not a 500 home run guy. So it's a coin flip here. It really depends on his longevity. 6-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glove, 4-time Silver Slugger, and 3 top 5 MVP votes. And so the bona fides are there. It's really up to him on how long he wants to continue playing. Anthony Rizzo's kind of in the same boat, 31.8 wins, and at age 31, 49 wins is your average Hall of Famer. So off by quite a bit here. He's off by 18 wins, really 3 years. And so you can see that first couple years in the league he really tracked well, but then he kind of fell off the pace. And so the reason he comes in ahead of Goldie, he's a couple of years younger here. So I would put Goldie ahead of him, but the numbers just 60 wins by age 35 had Goldie a little bit ahead. 268 average, 250 home runs. And this is kind of interesting right there. So we'll see what kind of player and what kind of power he can have. He may force the issue. We'll see, especially in Yankee Stadium. So 1,300 hits and 129 weighted runs created. So a very, very good player. I would put his odds lower than Goldie actually, and if he was at that 20% area or something like that. I don't know that the chances are terribly good for Anthony Rizzo, but he could have some relevance in the near term, especially on the Yankees. 3-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glove, Platinum Glove, excellent defender, Silver Slugger, and 2 top 5 MVPs. So if he can have a little late career resurgence and at least track and play for a while, then he's there. But again, I think his chances are probably the lowest of anybody on this list. All right, Pete Alonso, very early for Pete Alonso. And you'll see why we have him on here. So he's got roughly 8.5 wins here. At age 26, you're looking at about 22 wins. So he's a couple of years off the pace. You can see getting a slower start, and then having a pretty lousy second season here didn't help. But he was pretty darn good this season. So he's got a career 256 average, 106 home runs, and this is what we really need to pay attention to. Again, this is a guy that could force the issue. 350 hits, 136 weighted runs created. So he really does hit the ball pretty well here. He had a bad first half of the 2019 season. All right, brief TV timeout. I forgot where I was at. So All-Star and a Rookie of the Year. So with Pete Alonso, again, you're looking at the home run, see if he can get it done here, or if he can just maintain what he's doing. Again, that first half of 2019 was pretty lousy. Second half wasn't bad at all, and this year he was actually a pretty decent player. So if he can continue on that path, again, the late start is going to hurt him, but if he can continue on that path and play for a couple extra years, past age 35, when these guys start to kind of level off, then we could be onto something here. All right, moving along to Matt Olsen. So kind of an interesting one here. So came out really well in 2017, and then a couple of years, not terribly great by any stretch, but there was a medical issue, and he got some surgery last year, and his eye surgery in the offseason, and then last year he was an absolute beast. And I think we could have a top 5 MVP added to this, and be pretty confident that that's going to stick here. So for his career, he's got 15 WAR, and at age 27, you're looking for about 28 WAR. So again, a couple really good years off of the pace. So again, coming up, not playing a whole lot at first. So getting a little bit of a late start, tracking, and then a lousy 2019, and then 2020 was a beast year. So he's the trajectory is getting back on track. We'll see if he can maintain that. So there's work to be done. There's a lot of work to be done. So 250 average, 142 home runs. Again, that's, you know, a guy that's averaging 30, 40 home runs a year, and he wants to play till he's 40. You know, that could be interesting here. That could force the issue. 500 hits and 132 weighted runs created. So an elite level bat. All-star, a couple Gold Gloves. Very good defender overall. So this is worth monitoring to see if he can continue this this trajectory and this pace over the next couple of years. If what he did this year is for real and he does that for another year or two, then I think people will start to take him a little bit more seriously. So it's one to watch out for. Freddie Freeman. Now we're getting into the guys that are a bit more established here. So Freddie Freeman, 42 wins. The average Hall of Famer at age 31 is 49 wins. So there's about a really good year off the pace here. Some of these guys, they have their birthday in the middle of the season, so you could tack on half a season worth of wins on some of these. So it's tough to say. It's like, oh, just 7. It could be 3 or 4. So 295 average, 271 home runs, 1,700 hits, and 141 weighted runs created. Just elite level bat, and he's been doing this for a long time. He's tracking really, really well, even with a partial season last year. He sure made the best of it and was able to keep pace. So if he's able to keep doing what he's doing, he should be able to get to that 60 win level. So over the next 5 years, roughly, can he be a 3 or 4 win player? And there's no reason to think that he can't do that. So he's got an MVP, shortened season, but again, counts. 5 All-Star games, a Gold Glove, 3 Silver Sluggers, and 3 top 5 MVPs. And so this is one of the better trajectories for players in the game right now. And if he can just keep doing what he's been doing over the past couple of years, then I think he'll get, he's already getting consideration, but I think people will take it much more seriously down the road. All right, I made an exception here. I don't like to put the young guys on, but hard to ignore his what his pedigree was and what he's doing right now. So 7.3 wins, but he's got he's producing at an early age, and this is really what when you look at all the Hall of Famers in the past. Again, those guys are coming up at 21, 22, and they're producing at a pretty high level here. So the average Hall of Famer at 22, they're usually just getting started with 3.5 wins roughly, and he's well on the track. You can see his trajectory is surpassing, and so when you're looking at kind of the definite Hall of Famers, this is what you see is they just exceed early, and they step on the gas and then maybe they pump the brakes or something like that, but they banked a lot early. And so if this is something that he can do over the next couple of years, then this bears out. So 290 average, 72 home runs, 372 hits, 135 weighted runs created, whatever. Again, it's early, but this is what you want to see. That's gonna perk anybody's attention up. So an All-Star game, Silver Slugger, and I'm assuming he's going to be in the top 5 of MVP this year. So he doesn't have it yet, but let's pretend he does. I think I am safe in that assumption. So yes, very interesting early on. A lot could happen. And as we'll see, his cards are reflecting a pretty terrific career, but there is a lot of risk to this one, more than some of the others. Joey Vado, 60 wins above replacement at age 37. The average Hall of Famer does not have 37.73. They've got 70.73. So I'm gonna have to fire my editor there. So, but you can see his track has been really good. Had an injury year right here. The last couple years he wasn't hitting, and then the back half of this season he decided he wanted to hit home runs and hit I think half of his 31 home runs in the back half of this season here. So excellent trajectory. He has satisfied the 60 win requirement for consideration. I think most people would say so. He can be considered at this point, and I think he's been considered for a while here. So 302 average, 331 home runs, 2,000 hits, which seems a little bit light. So we'd like to see him put in a couple more years here. 149 weighted runs created. When he's been playing amazingly, but he can again kind of have that later start here. MVP, 6-time All-Star, Gold Glove, 3 top 5 MVPs, and so the bona fides are there. I think people will look at the hits, and maybe that'll give them a little bit of pause, but the wins and just a real fan favorite. And everyone, when they talk about pure hitters, they talk about Joey Vado. So he may push his way in there. And there's a stat, I think, on base and slugging and average. 300, 400, and 500, and there's only a few players that have ever done that. So 300 average, 400 on base, 500 slugging. Only a handful of players have ever accomplished that feat, and all of them are in the Hall of Fame, with the exception of Joey Vado. So there's a strong case to be made for Mr. Vado. All right, let's get into the guys that are kind of the no-doubters here. So 70 wins for Miggy above replacement. The WAR typical Hall of Famer at age 38 is 68, so that's a high number, and Miggy's exceeding even that again. So he got started early, produced, and was able to bank a ton of wins above replacement before kind of leveling off. 310 average, 502 home runs. He'll get 3,000 hits next year, 143 weighted, 1 graded. One of the best hitters in the game. 2-time MVP, a triple crown, 11-time All-Star. 4 batting titles, 7 Silver Sluggers, and 7 top 5 MVPs. There's little doubt that he is getting into the Hall. And the biggest no-brainer here is Mr. Albert Pujols. 86 wins above replacement. This isn't Hall of Fame level. This is elite level, all-time elite. This is what, honestly, Pujols, Trout put them together here. So wins at age 41, 69.36. So yeah, again, he's blowing that away. Came up early, produced. I mean, if you look at his trajectory when he first came up, he was putting up 7-8 win seasons pretty consistently. Amazing stuff here, and has blown away the trajectory. Never even bothered to check. It's at his own here. So 3 MVPs, Rookie of the Year, 10 All-Star games, 2 Gold Gloves, 6 Silver Sluggers, a batting title, and 10 top 5 MVPs. And so again, you're looking at not just Hall of Fame, you're looking at all-time elite. And with that, what do we do here? So who are we buying? So you can kind of group them into a few different categories. The guys that it's really iffy at best, I think, but they've got a better chance than most. At least they've got a chance, you know. And then you've got the guys that they're tracking. You know, in Joey Vado's case, he's kind of towards the end. There's not a lot more that he can do. Can he compile a little bit more? Vlad, you know, very beginning of his career, but doing everything that you want him to do. And Freddie Freeman's been consistent for a long time. And then you've got the no doubters. And so you can see that of the players that have a chance, they're sitting in that $50, $60, $70 area for the most part. Nothing really stands out. Pete Alonso might be cheap, but there's, people aren't really buying what he's doing. It could be a little bit cheap, but it's going to take a good season again next year for those prices to get going just a bit. Matt Olson's probably right in that thing. We only had a graded chrome for him. These guys have been around for a while, and there's some other players in that 2011 Topps update set that might be pretty good. That's going to keep their prices up in that iconic sets here. And then Todd Helton, his 93 Topps traded, is going for about $150, and so kind of an outlier there. I think people are looking at those Hall of Fame votes saying, oh yeah, there's a shot here. And so $150 is kind of for those fringe players. If you look at Vado and Helton, they've got a shot. They should get some interest. That's kind of the price, and so I think the market's got a lot of these right. Freddie Freeman and Vlad, again, those guys that are on the track, a little bit more on the track, they've got better than a coin flip of getting in. They seem to be $250, $300 cards, except for Mookie lately, Vlad's priced to perfection, I think, at this point here. Any injury, any off season or anything like that, if he has a bad year or something, those cards are going to get hit pretty well. So while his prices are kind of stable, and I think you'll get some speculation on them in the off season, any misstep and those prices get hit, and so that's my big concern with Vlad. And then you get into the no doubters. Miggy, his base 2000 Topps traded $500-600 for PSA 10 in the base. If you want a Chrome PSA 10, $1,200. You should be able to get the raws a lot cheaper. And Pujols 2001 Topps traded PSA 10, $2,500 to $2,800. That's the Chrome. And again, I put him on par with Mike Trout, $2,500 to $3,000 cards. So that's just what you pay for an elite level player. The Hall of Famers, those are usually going to be $500 to somewhere $500 and $1,000. And so I think the market's got a lot of these correct. Vado might be a slightly cheap because I think he's got a bit better shot than Helton. And I don't know if they should be priced similarly. So I think that's where I would look. I'd be very careful on Vlad. Again, for the next couple of years, he can't falter. That's a lot to ask on this one. So that's what I got for you. I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll look at second baseman on the next one. Take care and have a great rest of the day. Thank you.